Why don't you guys each just give us a sense of what your companies are up to, just real briefly, and then we can talk about your own journey to get here. So, JJ, tell us about EverString.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So, EverString's a predictive marketing SaaS company. So we help B2B companies do three primary things. One is expand their sales and marketing databases. The second is prioritize their existing prospects. And the third is enrich their database, provide additional insights and context. And we do all of that using an applied data science, machine learning, AI platform that we built from the ground up.
Cool. And what are you doing there?
So I'm president and co-founder of the company. So I oversee, my primary responsibilities on a day-to-day basis are actually running our marketing team and our sales and sales development teams, HR and finance report up to me, as well as solutions and success.
So does anything not?
My business partner, my co-founder, oversees product and engineering.
Okay. And just briefly, what got you to there? I mean, usually you get introduced by somebody else, but I think it's more interesting to hear you.
Yeah, sure.
You guys
How we started the business. So prior to starting EverString, both my partner and I worked in the financial services industry, actually in an investment business. And it was very much a field sales-driven go-to-market. We were investing in businesses that didn't need to raise money. Right? So really getting on a plane every single week for a decade. Right? I visited almost 1,000 companies, and maybe 10 of them were driving distance from my offices over the decade that I did that. And through the pain of doing that, it was really a field sales role. Right? We had 40 teleprospecting people. We had 0 marketing. So essentially all teleprospecting.
Good ratio.
Yeah. We had very long sales cycles, 9 months to 3 years, and the absolute worst product in that business in the mid-market where there's less differentiation is money. Right? So we really learned about solution selling. You learned with those long sales cycles about picking your prospects, and all of our qualification was done manually. We were trying to find private, profitable, growing companies. And through the process of doing that, my partner and I started to think more about ways you could visualize and analyze pipeline to understand where you should allocate your time. He had an applied mathematics background, and he was the first one to say, I always say I spent 10 years dutifully getting on planes and chasing companies, and he spent 3 years doing it and said, man, there's got to be a better way. So he was one of the original innovation idea to use applied data science, natural language processing, and machine learning to actually try to automate that prospecting effort, right? To say, you could have a human call to try to find out, is the company growing, is it profitable, and the other characteristics we care about. Or you could use a machine to go out. You could crawl the websites of all companies, capture that data, and then process it. You could build in algorithms to look at where if you had success in the past and actually forecast, predict even where you'd likely have success in the future. And we started the business very much from the perspective of the field experience, the pain of getting on a plane to fly to Chicago, to walk into a meeting, and 5 seconds in realize there was no way there was a deal there. So that's what gave rise to the business. It wasn't looking at the category or saying, man, there's got to be a business opportunity here. It was just, if we can solve that pain for ourselves, we can solve that pain for others. And we quickly realized that the enterprise marketing world was the most receptive place to actually apply those technologies. A lot of forward-thinking users, and that's how the business came to life.
Super. Sounds like a modern-day Victor Kiam story. You needed it so much you made the company.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Welcome. Scott.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your company and what you're doing there.
Sure. So, hi everybody. My name is Scott Holden, and I run marketing for ThoughtSpot. So, I've been at the company for 2 years now. The company was founded in 2012, and we are a search-driven analytics company. And so, the simple idea is that we're trying to make analyzing your company data as easy as getting directions on Google. So for those of you, how many people spend a lot of time using analytics products? You know, your Tableaus of the world, your MicroStrategies, business objects. There's a whole bunch of them. And our claim to fame is to try and make that whole world, which is pretty technical and complicated, search box simple. And JJ and I guess, have some finance in our backgrounds. Started my career in finance. I like to tell people I'm on my 3rd career now in marketing. I did some finance, some operations, and now I'm in the marketing space, and I've been a long time analytics, business intelligence user. And when I learned about ThoughtSpot, our CEO, Jeet Singh came to me and kind of recruited me out of Salesforce just down the street here where I spent the prior 7 years. I said, this looks like the first product that I've seen in a decade that could really flip the analytics industry on its head. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me to join. The premise is basically trying to reinvent an age-old analytics market through search. And so our company started with 7 co-founders, technical co-founders. Ajit, our CEO, is the CEO, or was the head of product and marketing at a company called Nutanix. Some of you may know that. That's another Lightspeed portfolio company. There's been a lot of, actually just this week, there's been news about them on the brink of filing for an IPO. So he ran product and marketing for that company and then decided after 3 years he wanted to get closer to end users and analytics and started ThoughtSpot with the help of Lightspeed. And so 7 technical co-founders, 4 of them from Google. And the idea is basically trying to take a bunch of really smart Google guys and reinvent the analytics world through the search paradigm. And so that's what we're doing. And any time you've got a large number of people, frontline business people who are not technical, that don't want to sit through a 3-day training class to learn how to build charts. I'm sure a lot of you have played with Excel and you're always like, is this access the right way? How does this work? We do all that stuff for you through a search box. And so if you've got people that access a lot of data at scale, we have a very cool product to make that whole process easy.
Excellent. Well, it's interesting, I mean, that you guys are paired because it seems like in some ways you're dealing with some of the same dynamics in the marketplace. So, JJ, what would you say from the marketing side of your job are the marketing issues that you guys are wrestling with?
Sure, internal within our business.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, absolute number one is just alignment. Right? I mean, it is aligning what we're doing in sales, well, in marketing, with sales development, with sales, and all the way straight through to success. Right? Particularly for businesses like ours, where there should be meaningful growth within existing customers, driving that alignment in how we're spending our time, what we're saying, setting expectations, and then delivering on them. I mean, that's the number one piece. There's a lot of, we've put together a great team. A lot of people come from environments where that's not how most businesses operate. Right? Very, very siloed across marketing and sales development.
So you're in a younger, smaller, nimble, forward-looking company. I didn't think sales and marketing alignment was an issue in companies like that.
Yeah, so we're about 130 people, and since all of those groups I just mentioned report to me, I would say that we have a better alignment, I think, because there's a unified view of what matters, and everyone who's there at this point cares deeply about it. And we're an account-based marketer ourselves. We're very focused on target account selling. We use our own technology to identify target accounts, and then we align our marketing and all of our go-to-market specifically around those accounts. So that has helped a lot in driving alignment. So I think we've made a ton of progress from where we were a couple of years ago.
Excellent. Yeah, have you overcome the sales and marketing alignment?
It's funny, that is an age-old problem that I have always faced in all of my marketing assignments, but I actually wouldn't put that at the top of my list right now at ThoughtSpot. I think the hardest thing for us is that we have a product that, the idea of like a search-driven analytics kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, I can type in a search box and we build a chart and bring back an answer to you on the fly, and it's a really nice experience. And that's been kind of what I've marketed, and it gets us a lot of interest and a lot of looks. But if you spend any time in the data world, you know that it's big and ugly and complicated, and whatever any vendor like ourselves might tell you is easy and how we're revolutionizing things, there's a lot of skepticism that people bring to the table. And so what I've kind of been focused on a lot lately is just trying to marry that super simplistic top-level marketing message around search in the world of BI with the some of the fundamental technology innovations that are under the hood of our product that are harder to surface, that our more technical buyers need to understand, and balancing those two marketing personas, if you will, and trying to understand when to market to one versus when to market to the other, and making sure that our sales team, when they're talking to one versus the other, that they're saying they're going to the appropriate level of depth. And so that's been something, it's been a personal learning exercise for me in that the technical buyers of analytics have a lot of wounds, a lot of battle scars. And so you have to be very familiar with those and be able to kind of position the right things at the right time.
Mm-hmm. So you've been there for 2 years. The idea of search was built into the product right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So how has the message evolved while you've been there, or where have you been taking the message from and pushing it to? In a sense, being two things, being really simple in a really complex world. How do you bridge that and not split your bands?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean it's like I'm sure a lot of you here have kind of dealt with like personas, and like if you try to give the wrong message to a different person, it gets muddy. And so oftentimes companies like, what do we put on the homepage of our website? And you got to be really sharp about like, well, are we talking to one persona versus the other? And if we don't know, to bifurcate. And I'm actually going through like that exercise right now. We've been talking primarily to maybe a line of business, CIO, like CXO, marketing type message where I think we need to do a better job of talking to a more technical audience. Because ultimately, given the technical prowess of our product, that is where we succeed. And that's where typically our sales cycles begin. And so that's just been a learning exercise for us of trying to make that a more guided journey when the prospect comes to our website, and also ripples right on through the sales organization as well.
JJ, you guys have just sold over the corner office, you play golf, you're done? Or is it more complex than that? Do you have to bridge any of the things that Scott's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting hearing Scott say, because we deal with some of those exact same issues, right? We're selling what at the core, at an execution level, is very, very complex data science, but our buyer is a business decision maker. Mm-hmm. It's a marketing leader, it's a director of demand gen, a VP of marketing, possibly a CMO, and maybe a half step either side, right? Marketing operations, sales ops. Early on from an evolution standpoint, the first instinct as a young analytics-driven business is to really try to razzle-dazzle people with the analytics. And we'd go in and talk about context optimization, and the marketers would just like glaze over, and maybe the phones start coming out. And quickly, one of the first things that I did from a messaging rework was realize, okay, really understand this buyer doesn't care about those things. They do not care how it happens, right? They view it in an outcomes-based way. They care about a set of business outcomes, right? Faster accelerated pipeline development, higher conversion rates, and we started focusing on making sure we were talking to the use cases they really cared about, and we've evolved our messaging. Now we talk very, very little about, really almost none about data science. We talk about the outcomes we enable, and word predictive is really the only place that shows up and it's into it. Now our selling, though, is over the last 2 years has evolved, because predictive analytics is a category. 2 years ago, you could say to people, I'll prioritize your pipeline and tell you this is an A or a 100 lead and push that to sales, and they'll call it down aggressively. And over the last 2 years, expectations have become more sophisticated. I want to know why. Why are you saying it's 100? I need insights. I need the context so that when I pass that to sales says, okay, I can have conviction in my execution. And then the data needs to be right. The analytics need to be great, but the foundational layer of the data level needs to be right. So we've gone through a lot of evolution in our own messaging and the way we address those issues.
So I'm going to ask a few more questions, and then I'm going to open it up for questions just about their journey and how they got here. So, Scott, what would you say has been the toughest thing that you've had to deal with in the last 2 years? The biggest market-related obstacle to overcome?
Let's see. So, to my prior point, the top-level marketing message for our company has been really strong. The nuance around the sophistication that we've built is harder to unpack. And so I actually think I've probably come at things the opposite from JJ, where we started, like especially when I first got the job, I'm like, let's make sure that easy value prop and the value-based selling, all that comes through, and like we kind of nailed that, and like it made sense. And as we realized that the people who would buy our product were the more technically savvy people that would understand a lot of the cool stuff we built into it, we had to go to them and explain some of the more technical stuff. And a lot of the kind of snazzy marketing ideas and things that we'd done at the high level weren't translating down into the lower levels. And so a lot of my shift has just been to try and make that part of what we do more prescriptive for the sales organization and more clear, and try and explain the value of that a little bit better to a technical buyer. And so that's probably been the biggest challenge. We for those of you who kind of follow the software space, I most of my career in marketing, I've been selling cloud software at Salesforce. And ThoughtSpot got its start selling an appliance, which is a piece of hardware that you put on site, in large part because we were aiming at the Fortune 500. And most of those companies are very data sensitive, security concerns, and they wanted an appliance to put on site and protect their data. It's been a fantastic strategy for the the cream of the crop companies. It's great. Some of our customers are Walmart, Amgen, Qualcomm, Bed Bath & Beyond. Some of the kind of shining stars of the Fortune 500. But as we've tried to expand that, the appliance model is working well, but it's not quite the velocity to be able to get in the mid-market, even the velocity that you want in the enterprise, and some of those people that want to test out your product. And so we are experimenting with pricing and packaging, and how do we get penetrated in an enterprise, like land and expand, given the dynamics around data and the kind of things that we know that work well. But we're trying to accelerate that. And so that's probably been some of the technical messaging meets pricing and packaging have been the things, at least in this role, that have been where I've spent a lot of my time and tried to evolve.
You know what question's coming.
So I think the biggest challenge for us was early on building this predictive analytics platform. Right? There are so many ways that you could, in theory, apply it. And I think one of the other, from an evolution standpoint, early on we would go in and we talk about this broad array of use cases. And I think we were too splintered for too long. I think one of the big, we talk to people about increase conversion, we can expand your pipeline, but we can also reduce churn, with cross-sell and upsell. And I mean, I look back one of our early decks, we had like 7 use cases. And I think it was really, really tuning in on what are the universal needs and the universal pains. Because in the end, what we do is help companies find more prospects that look like your best customers. You find the ones inside your pipeline, you find the ones outside your pipeline that should be in. Right? And as we really, really focused in, and part of it was, I think, since we had come from more of the sales world, really, as I became more of a marketer myself, understanding what the marketers cared about. The typical marketer doesn't get compensated on cross-sell and upsell. Right? The typical marketer doesn't get compensated on churn reduction. Right? And then we're there, man, this works so well for these things. And as we started spending a lot more time with our target audience, understanding what they cared about, and that's how we end up now. We only really talk about those primary use cases of prioritization, pipeline expansion, enrichment for those.
I should say that I'm also a customer of JJ's, and so it's been a good learning exercise for me.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. It's a very, very cool product, and I think that's been one of the cool things about coming from my background. I went from a very large company, Salesforce is now 25,000 people, to we interestingly have the same size companies now, 130 employees. And the sophistication in which small companies can operate these days is pretty amazing. And so I've got probably 40 different technologies in a company our size. And it's all, this SaaS model for small companies, like you can buy technologies pretty cost effectively. And if you have people who know how to put them together, you can get a lot of value out of them. And I often tell people that I'm far more sophisticated today as a 130-person company than it was inside a 25,000-person company, which is counterintuitive. And so EverString is one of those technologies where they help us prioritize our leads and give our sales team visibility in what ones are good and what ones aren't, and also gives our sales team some perspective into whether we're doing well or not. So are we bringing in the good leads or are we bringing in the bad leads? And it's all scored based on what, basically customers that have bought from us, what do they look like? And EverString helps us go find more customers that look like that. And that's pretty valuable, right, if you're trying to get to market faster. So The technology piece is one thing that, I obviously am selling technology, but I'm also an avid user of marketing technology. And that's why this is pretty interesting to me, because I think this space is just exploding. And I look at the tech stack that I'm managing, it blows me away about the level of sophistication I think even small company marketing teams need to have to be successful.
We actually met in the context, and we originally promoted this evening as an exploration about account-based marketing. But as we each spoke, it kind of became clear that there was something even bigger happening, that ABM was just kind of the context for it. And I hear you bringing up, Scott, that change in the way people think, the way we need to market to the changing way people think, and the changing composition of the audience to whom we're doing that, because the democratization is happening. So democratization in our context sounds like a great thing, sounds like something that we're in favor of, which we are, but it also makes things complicated. I mean, you've both talked about the changes in your audience. So my question is, how have you been able to change your firm to reflect the changes in the marketplace, either that the marketplace has been changing or that the way you originally approached the market needed to be changed to face this issue? How has democratization changed your firms?
Yeah, I mean, top-level messaging. The second was just the way we built out our go-to-market team, understanding the way that marketers want to understand technology, the openness that they have, the amount of budget that marketers control now is amazing, right? And for us, I mean, we never encounter a CIO or a CTO. Marketers can purchase, they have the budget to purchase, and because the deployments are so easy now, right? Folks who get up and running with us the same day, they don't need to talk to anyone on the technology side. Now, the bigger the company, to Scott's point, we observed that exact issue. The bigger the company, typically the less sophisticated the marketing, and the harder it is, obviously, for them to deploy. Like the most,
It's crazy, right?
yeah, I mean, it was for me, it was very counterintuitive, but it's a thing over the last 2 years that I realized is the best marketers, right? The smartest, the most innovative marketers, for the most part. There are some exceptional ones at big companies, usually relatively high up, but by and large, as you get into the middle of the teams, the best marketers are at the smaller companies. And they're there because it's where they can get things done. It's where they see a path, they see a technology that can be useful, they see an approach, it's where they can actually actuate it. Whereas at some big company, someone says, this sounds fantastic, now let's begin our 9-month security and trust review. You're like, holy,
Yes.
the small company.
That's why they like the boxes.
Yeah, that's right. The mid-sized company is live that afternoon.
Yeah.
And they're seeing business value or they're not, and then they're shutting down their reallocated budgets.